Give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High, whose name is Yahweh, in the name of his Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, whose name is Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit, which is the Rakakwadash. And those are all of the names of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit in the Paleo Hebrew, Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, and Rakakwadash. This is the brother Sagala coming back with another lesson. I'm going to do this little lesson on this senator that goes by the name of Raphael Warnock. And it says on January 6th, he became the first so-called African-American senator in the state of Georgia. And they also go along with talking about a first Jewish senator that ran with him or something of that nature. But I'm going to play a clip in this video. And this is from Amanpour and Company. I just got through watching this on PBS, which is the Public Broadcasting Services, and the spirit hit me to drop this video. Hopefully this is edifying. I'm titling this they are hidden.
Well, returning now to Washington, and new information just revealed that former President Trump tried to contact a member of the White House support staff who was talking to the January 6 Select Committee. Now that's raising questions about potential witness tampering. January 6, 2021, we know, is a day for America's history books, but so is the day before it. That's when Reverend...
I want to give fair use warning, fair use.
Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff won Georgia's 2 Senate seats, the first African-American and first Jewish senators from the state. Senator Warnock is now reflecting on all that brought him to this moment in a new memoir called A Way Out of No Way. And here he is talking with Michelle Martin.
Thanks, Bianna. Senator Warnock, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here with you.
I can't help but remember that your time in public office is so intimately entwined with the events of January 6th. I mean, on January 5th, you became the first Black senator from your home state. Obviously, it's your first time in elective office. You're only the 11th Black person to serve in the U.S. Senate. And the very next day, what we could, I think, fairly describe as a lynch mob attacks the place where you're soon to serve. And I'm just thinking that must have been this kind of welter of emotions. Can you just take us back to that? What was going through your mind over those 2 days?
Yes, you're correct. And I talk about this in my book, A Way Out of No Way. On January 5th, I was elected the first African-American senator from the great state of...
Coon. He got Coon written all over him, but I'm going to keep playing this. It's not going to be very long, but I want to, just play a little bit of this, and then I'm going to get some scriptures and call it a day.
Georgia. But also, Jon Ossoff was elected the first Jewish senator. So think about that. The state of Georgia, a former state of the Confederacy, elected in one fell swoop an African-American and a Jewish senator. And I think somewhere in glory, Martin Luther King Jr. and Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel were dancing, because when they marched alongside one another. It gives voice, regardless of your politics, to the best of who we are.
Dr. Martin Luther King and Rabbi, whatever his name was, were dancing when... This is what this guy's saying. They were dancing, I guess, in their graves, when this so-called black man, in which you Negroes are truly Israelites, okay? Was dancing in his grave when he came into office as a senator with a so-called Jewish man, okay? Now, if you understand that these people that call themselves Jewish, they are not the true Jews, okay? They are not the Israelites of the Bible. They are imposters, okay? Let me get a script. Let's get a Psalm 83. Let's go to Psalms 83. Start at verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O Yahweh. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee lift up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. Why? Well, why do I bring this one out? Because he's calling himself African American. He's referring to himself as black. Okay, and this is what our people have been brainwashed with, calling ourselves by these socioeconomic labels that they put upon our people. Okay, and this is through, they push this upon us through their media and through their public education system. If anyone is familiar with that movie Roots, and you know how they had Kunta Kinte tied up to the tree or tied up to whatever, and then they was beating his name out of him. Well, guess what? That's what had happened to us. They beat our name out of us, and they beat him until he named himself Toby, till he called himself Toby, and that's what happened to our people. Okay, now we forgot our own heritage and we start assimilating into a certain culture that people gave us, the so-called white man. Okay, but guess who financed this slave trade was the so-called Jewish people. Okay, in which is just a branch of the family tree of the so-called biblical Edomite. Well, not the so-called biblical Edomite, but the biblical Edomite, which is the so-called white man. Okay. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, this verse 4, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. Okay, now it has all of the nations that's confederate against us. The tabernacles of Edom, that's the so-called white man. Ishmaelites, that's the so-called Arabs. Moab, okay, who was Moab? The so-called Chinese people and all of the other Asians that descend from Chinese. The Hagarenes, those are the same peoples that's in that area. Gabal and Ammon. And Amalek, who is Amalek? The so-called people that call themselves Jewish today. Okay, and we understand if you read Revelations, the 3rd chapter, it says those who call themselves Jews but are not Jews, but are of the synagogue of Satan. These are the same people. Okay, these are the same people. And Amalek was the financiers of the so-called slave trade. And, one of the main reasons why we so-called black people lost their identity today, and they're calling themselves black. Now let's get a whole nother scripture based on that. Let's go to Lamentations, the 4th chapter. Let's go to Lamentations 4. I just turned the television on and I seen that playing. And I said, hey, this will be a great lesson to put out. Hopefully people are edified by it. Let's go to Lamentations chapter 4. KJV. Start at verse 1. I'm just going to hit a few points in Lamentations, the 4th chapter. Start at verse 1. How is the gold become dim? How is the most fine gold changed? The stones of the sanctuary are poured out in the top of every street. And where do you see a lot of our people, where they live, that you see them hanging out on the street corners? Okay. Verse 2, the precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold, how are they esteemed as earthen pitchers? The work of the hands of the potter. Even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to their young ones. The daughters of my people is become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness. And you see how some of our women, they act towards their children. They just cuss them out, call them all types of names. They abandoned them. Okay. treat them like dirt. So let's go down to verse 8. Their visage is blacker than coal. Okay, so what is your visage? That's not your countenance, but your outward appearance. Okay, and not only our outward appearance is being as a dark-skinned people, but we are called black. Okay, their visage is blacker than coal. They are not known in the streets. No, we're not known in the streets. We're known as black people. We're known as African Americans. Okay. And this also goes for you Native Americans and you Latinos, because you fall in the same category. Okay, and it's really not about skin color when it comes to being an Israelite. Okay, it really just depends on who you descend from. So you can be any color, your skin can be any color, and you could be an Israelite. Okay, so it really is about your appearance. But for the most part, when we talking about Negroes being called black, that these people are really Israelites. Okay, their visage is blacker than coal. They are not known in the streets. Their skin cleaveth to their bones. It is withered. It is become like a stick. Okay, and how does our skin cleave to our bones? Because of the conditions that our people live in for the most part. Okay, in poverty. They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger, for these pine away stricken, though for want of the fruit of the field, the hand of the pitiful women has sought in their own children. Okay, that's what I wanted to get in Lamentations, the 4th chapter. Let's get a little bit more of this video.
As a diverse American people, that happened on January 5th. And then on January 6th, we saw the most violent assault on our capital since 1812, the War of 1812. Racist and anti-Semitic slogans and language trafficked through our capital. Police officers were brutalized. People were killed. And so I think in a real sense, that's where we are in this moment. We are somewhere as a nation between January 5th and January 6th, between our hopes and our fears, between the politics of division and that grand American creed, e pluribus unum, out of many one. And our job right now, I think, is to push us closer towards our ideals, to hold at bay the demagogues who are trying to divide us because people who have no vision, traffic in division, and to recommit ourselves to that grand democratic idea. It's been complicated. Our story's all...
Now, in Isaiah the 19th chapter, it says the Egyptians shall be against the Egyptians, and that is a prophecy that is playing out now. And just like the Lord, who y'all called, not y'all, but you know who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, told us that a house divided will not stand. Can Beelzebub cast out Beelzebub? Just roughly paraphrasing, okay? Just roughly paraphrasing. Why? Because the Egyptians will be against the Egyptians, and America is the modern day Sodom, Gomorrah, and Egypt. Pursuant to Revelations the 11th chapter, verse 8. And you see the divide in America, and you see America falling. All right, you see Babylon falling. Okay. America is also scripturally Babylon, okay? Metaphorically, Egypt, all right? And just like he quoted, I believe he quoted something off the back of the dollar bill, if I'm not mistaken, but you can look on the back of your dollar bill, you see that Egyptian pyramid.
Always been complicated as an American people. It's too easy to say January 6th is not who we are. The sad truth is that is a part of who we are. But we're also January 5th, when a kid who grew up in public housing gets to serve in the United States Senate. So I'm going to keep fighting for the best in the American promise.
Did it change anything about the way you approached or you thought about your job as a senator?
Well, I've been in these fights for a long time. For 17 years now, I've served as senior pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, where.
All right, that's the part that where I wanted to get to. Because he served as a pastor for a church, but he's still referring to himself as black. So where's the spirit on this man? Okay, because right now this is a great awakening of the people stepping up and saying, "Hey, we're the true people." Okay, and he's still referring to those other people who call themselves Jews but who are not Jews. He's referring to them as Jewish. Okay, and those people are proclaiming themselves to be the Lord's chosen people, and that is false. That's a false allegation. That's a false claim. And let's get that. Let's get Zechariah the 9th chapter, and let's prove that. Zechariah chapter 9. Let's get verse 6. Let's get verse 6. And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines, and I will take away his blood out of his mouth, and his abominations from between his teeth. But he that remaineth, even he shall be for our God. And he shall be as a governor in Judah, and Ekron as a Jebusite. So whoever remaineth when the Lord comes with this destruction, he's going to put them in servitude, okay, in slavery. Why? Because these people, they have the world under their thumb. And if you understand who the so-called elites are, they are, the so-called world is run by a shadow government, which is through these so-called people that's calling themselves Jewish, okay? And we're talking about the elite, the super elite, the Rothschild family, the Oppenheimers, things like that, okay? And it says, the Lord's people right now are not known. So who are these people? Who is this bastard that's dwelling in Ashdod? What is a bastard? A bastard is an illegitimate child. So let's look up this bastard. Let's look up what a bastard is, and then we'll look up where Ashdod is. Well, first, let's look up where Ashdod is. Ashdod. Ashdod is the 6th largest city, and this is according to Google. Ashdod is the 6th largest city in Israel, located in the country's southern district. It lies in the Mediterranean coast, 32 kilometers south of Tel Aviv, 20 kilometers north of Ashkelon. Okay? So, when we go back to Zechariah the 9th chapter, and a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and he shall smite the Philistine. Well, who is the Philistine? That's the Palestinians that keep going to war with those so-called Jewish people. Okay? Why? Because there's an illegitimate child, or there's an illegitimate people calling themselves the Lord people dwelling in that land where they call Israel, and they're fighting against the Palestinians, the Philistines. Okay? And you could search up, or you can ask if so-called Arab people, and there's another group of Arabs in which those aren't Arabs at all, okay? But they label themselves as Arabs, in which are Palestinians. They call themselves Philistines. So let's get that word bastard in the Strong's Concordance. And the Strong's Concordance is the translations, so we understand. It translates the English into the Hebrew when we're going into the Old Testament, and then it translates the English into the Greek, okay, when we're talking about the New Testament. So this is a Strong's Hebrew 4464 mamzer. And what does that mean? A mamzer, a bastard, a child of incest. from an unused word, a bastard, a child of incest. And what do these people do? They keep inbreeding and inbreeding and inbreeding. Okay, when we talking about the super elites, the so-called Illuminati, okay, they keep inbreeding to keep their money within their family. So let's get a couple more. Specifically, a child of incest, Aramaic, perhaps figuratively, collectively, mixed population. Strong's exhaustive concordance, from an unused root, meaning to alienate, a mongrel, born of a Jewish father and a heathen mother. No, that's wrong. Let's get it. There was another, specifically a child of incest, literally, bastard, perhaps figuratively, collectively, of mixed population. There was another one that I just looked up, and it said a mongrel race. So let's get it. A bastard, child of incest from an unused, a bastard, child of incest, illegitimate birth, NASB translation, illegitimate birth, mongrel race, one of illegitimate birth. Why? Because you have an illegitimate people they're calling themselves the Lord's people, but they're not. They are illegitimate. Okay? While the true Lord's people go unnoticed and unrecognized, even through themselves. Themselves don't even know. They themselves don't even know who they are. Okay. So let's get Jeremiah the 30th chapter. And once again, this has nothing to do with color, but color can be an indicator. Okay? Has everything to do with the spirit, because there's a lot of people that look like so-called white people. They're going to actually be Israelites also. Okay? And there is people that dwell in Israel, that look like these so-called bastards. They're going to be true Israelites. But for the most part, okay, these other people are not the people of the Lord. So let's get Jeremiah the 30th chapter. It goes about your lineage from your father, in which they don't even believe in that. They believe in your lineage through your mother. And when the male only carries the seed. So let's get Jeremiah the 30th chapter. Okay, let's start at verse 8. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and I will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him, but they shall serve the Lord their God. Whose yoke is the Lord going to break off of whose neck? Okay, our people are still in bondage. Okay, our people are still in servitude and in captivity under our oppressors. Okay, talking about Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, for the most part, and whoever you be, or whatever peoples be, that are true Israelites in these other lands. But according to Jeremiah, I believe it's the 50th chapter or the 51st chapter, verse 33, it says Israel and Judah, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdoms, okay, in which the northern kingdom is Israel and the southern kingdom is Judah, which comprise the 12 tribes, okay, all of the tribes, which is actually 13 tribes of Israel, because Joseph, one of the sons of Jacob, got a double portion. Okay, they are in captivity in Babylon. And who is Babylon? Babylon the Great. The mystery of iniquity. Okay, Babylon the Great is America, the United States. Okay? That mystery Babylon, that's what I meant to say. Excuse me. Is the United States. So let's get it. Let's get verse 18. Actually, let's get verse 9. But they shall serve the Lord their God and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return and shall be in rest and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. So, it was a false thing when they made this Balfour Declaration that instituted this nation state of what they call Israel. That was done in falsehood to deceive the world, okay? Because we know that those people are not dwelling in peace. So this is not matching up and aligning with the scriptures. So who are those people? Okay? They are a branch of the Edomites, okay? Called the Amalekites. And even today, you could call if you say a certain word, they will say that is a so-called slur, okay? So let's get verse 18. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will bring again the captivity of Jacob's tents, and have mercy on his dwelling places, and the city shall be builded upon her own heap, and the palaces shall remain after the manner thereof. And this is why they staged this so-called Holocaust event, because when you go up to, or when you go back down to, okay, when you go back down to verse 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble. They had to stage a Jacob's trouble to make it seem like that the Lord was gathering his people back into the land. But there's no peace in that land, so that has to be false. Okay? And even Ezekiel, the 48th chapter, it tells us at the end, at the end of that chapter, that the city, okay, when the people come back into it, that city shall be called the Lord is there. Where's the Lord there at? The Lord is not protecting those people. They're getting bombed. Although they're vexing the Philistine is fighting back on them. And when the Lord puts his people back into the land, there's gonna be bulwarks of fire, okay? There's gonna be walls of fire surrounding it to where can't nobody touch the Lord's people once they get into the land, okay? All right. So let's get Revelation, the 21st chapter. So the prophecies are not aligning up with the deception. Okay, and that's what devil means, deceiver. Diablos just means deceiver. So let's get Revelation 21, because it says some things that, when the Lord actually comes and he places his people back into the land, how it's going to look like. Let's get Revelation 21. Start at verse 10. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high. So have that city came out of the sky yet? No, it has not. So who are these people in the land claiming themselves to be the Lord's people? Having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. Okay. Side note, even when the Lord comes and gathers his people into the land, it says in Zechariah the 14th chapter that everybody in the world that every nation will have to come up on every feast of tabernacles, if I'm not mistaken, and worship the Lord there. So why is not every nation coming up to Israel right now and worshiping the Lord? Why? On the Feast of Tabernacles, okay? Paying homage on every Sabbath day. Why isn't the Sabbath day being recognized, okay, in every nation? So this is Revelation, the 21st chapter. Let's go back to verse 11. Having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. And these people, they don't even know where the rest of the 10 tribes is at. They say that the 10 tribes are lost. No, they're not. They're here in the Americas. They're everywhere, okay? Israel is as the sand of the sea. We are everywhere. So who are these people? Okay? Let's get another one. Let's get 18. Let's go to 18. And the building of the wall, okay? This is a description of how Israel will look in the day that the Lord comes and gathers his people. And the building of the wall of it was of jasper, and the city was pure gold. Is any of that city? Where's the pure gold in that city? Okay. Like unto clear glass. And the foundations of the wall of the city were garnished with all manner of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third chalcedony, the fourth an emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth sardius, the seventh crystallite, the eighth beryl, the ninth a topaz, the 10th a crisperasus, the 11th a jacinth, the 12th an amethyst, and the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Every several gate was of one pearl, and the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass. Should I say any more? Okay? Should I say any more? Because none of these things are there. So who are these people? So I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash, Barakatham. And I want to give double honors, okay, to the apostles at Great Millstone for teaching this truth in sincerity. Shalom.